You're building a startup, you want a tech product, but you don't know how to run the project once it starts, or what to expect from a vendor who builds it. My name is Matt Kupczyk, and I'm a founder of Brival, a senior-led software engineering practice. Over the last decade, we've built and modernized software for more than 100 companies. We've built early products such as MVPs from nothing, and we have also been called in to fix projects years post-launch when they got too complex for anyone to change. And this video is about the part in between. Here's the first thing, and it's often missed. The business is hard by itself, with no technology involved. So even when your product is technology, a mobile app, an AI agent, whatever it does, it's primarily a business. And the struggles that you hit are organizational. They're not solely technical. Because when you are the business owner, you are probably wearing multiple hats, and it is impossible to be an expert in everything. You could be doing sales and marketing and onboarding clients. Then you're deep in delivery, making sure that work actually gets done. And often, as a founder, you don't have enough expertise to actively own and manage technology, even inside your own company. So think for a second about what that's like. It's pretty similar to when you don't know what a proper sales process looks like. You don't know how to set it up. You can't really tell whether it's handled well or not. Someone is doing it, but you have no tools to assess their craft. You can only judge the outcome based on your own limited understanding. And in startups, the problem is that you are doing all of this against the clock. A startup starts with a budget and a goal attached to it, not an infinite runway to validate. So every wrong thing you build comes at a cost. And if it doesn't earn its dollars, it just shortens your timeline. So here's what this video is actually about. You don't need to know how the sausage is made, but you do need to know the frame you are operating in. What I have for you today is 3 ways this goes wrong, 4 things you can control, and 5 things to expect from whoever builds it. And watch where each of these 3 land, because they don't cost you the same thing. First trap. Thanks to AI, everything seems cheap now. So it's easy to get distracted and want to build everything. AI made it that it's no longer a matter of months, and you don't have to choose because of the cost. You have basically unlimited options. Sounds amazing, right? Now let me walk you through what it actually looks like inside the real project. So let's say that in my new CRM, I need a list of people today. But it's so cheap to make it slightly more generic, so maybe let's also add companies. And since we already have those in the system, it's reasonable to add an org chart as well, for those enterprise clients, since it's a low-hanging fruit. But then suddenly, I start coming up with even more ideas. I might want to keep track of their clients' birthdays, their favorite colors, their pets, all under the impression of justified business decisions, focused on best possible experience. While in reality, they are distractions. You needed a list, that's it. The first ideas usually sound justified and reasonable for different reasons. But then founders to get into the rabbit hole and keep building unnecessary stuff. And I know the budget was never a constraint you liked. But it did make a decision for you. What gets in and what doesn't. Take the price factor away, and suddenly every answer defaults to yes. So it's no longer about the cost. It's about the complexity it introduces to your product. And it's about your cognitive load. How much you have to hold in your head just to remember and understand how your own product works. This is probably the biggest cost. And that's something I often hear from founders working with AI. Because now, due to shipping so much and so fast, they are no longer certain about how things work. They struggle to keep track of all the changes. This one lands on you and your ability to answer questions about your own product. So, what to do with it? Here's a test. With the next feature, ask 3 questions. Did a client ask for this? Did you schedule it up front? Or did it just look cool as you went? If that's the third one, you can probably table it. Second trap, you try to build for a future that you cannot see. First of all, Things are going to be unpredictable. It's just a part of the game. So you make an assumption, you act on it, and then you pivot because the market gives you feedback that moves you in a different direction. But the problem is that to do it well, you need to have an idea about the future. And in the early stage, you often don't, or it doesn't take you very far, so you cannot prepare for everything ahead. Let's stick to the CRM example. Everyone knows a CRM has contacts. It has companies, sales opportunities, proposal, etc. That one is straightforward because those concepts existed long before you got here. But if you're building a product that needs to be a CRM today, which might be expected to become a warehouse system next year, and the gamification HR platform the year after that, you just cannot make that many assumptions up front just to be prepared. There are simply too many unknowns, so you might hit a ceiling with your code base. It might require refactoring or even redoing to adjust to the updated vision of the future, and it's normal. And that's the difference from the first trap. That one costs you your clarity, and this one costs you the code that you already paid for. Third trap, and this is the one I see most often. Founders, especially engineers, want to keep their product infinitely flexible. They want to handle all the future use cases they can imagine, and they never really dive deep enough into any of them. What makes a product unique is that you understand your target audience and you solve their pain. You give them something that fulfills their need, and it's priced well enough that you make money, and the client is happy to pay just to have that problem solved. A product that's for everyone is really for no one. It's too generic, it doesn't stand out, and it's probably so configurable that the setup and customization are just overwhelming. And this one doesn't land on you or your code. It lands in the market. My thought on that note is the following. Your technical sophistication and product's excellence, making it fully customizable, don't introduce real value to your customers. These might make you feel better about the product, but they are not valued by clients. So don't spend money on new features and don't even worry about them if you don't have a clear plan of turning them into real revenue soon. And this is one of those moments where a good vendor should tell you to stop building. And naturally, most of them won't, because building is the thing they bill for. Okay, so what can you actually control? And one thing before the list. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to do it yourself. You just have to understand enough to actively monitor the process. Number one, choose a vendor. Don't just hire hands. They need to follow best practices, do it efficiently due to AI, and with the right quality standard in place. And whether it's an agency or freelancer or even a technical co-founder, you should pay attention to who this person or this company actually is, what they represent, and whether they have a track record in working with clients like you. Number two, keep them in check. And you do that with the right metrics. You do it by setting a reporting cadence. And now you can do it with AI, which is the part that actually changed. You can connect an agent to your code repository, then ask it three things. First, have we set the right standard in place? If it says yes, cool. Then, how was last week? What did we actually deliver? And I mean, what got baked into the code, not the virtual progress presented by the vendor. And then put it, both of them, side by side. Here's the report from vendor, here's the actual code. Is it aligned, or is there anything missing? This one doesn't make you technical. It gives you a second opinion that you could not otherwise buy at that price. Number three, own what you paid for. Make sure that what you are paying for is actually owned by you. You don't want to end up in a mess where someone hands you the code, you pay them, and then you can't sell it because of a licensing issue. We went deep on this one in code audit video, so I won't repeat it here. Just make sure you don't skip this step. Number four, validate before you build. Business is an unknown. There is no certainty, especially early on. But when you are starting with a brand new product, you're not sure yet whether it will resonate with the market, which is natural. So you do the discovery to validate your hypothesis. And you need to talk to your actual clients, put the product in front of them to find out whether they find it usable or not. Additional analytics on user behavior can be a great help here. So especially if you're an early stage startup, do that fast and do it cheap. You have to remember about the clock and your runway because you do have a limited budget and a goal, not an infinite runway. By the way, there's a difference worth naming here. If you have a service you have already validated and you now want to enhance it with software, it makes sense to go wider because you already know the shape of it. Last part, what to expect from whoever builds it. This is what we learned over the years that works best for our clients. So ultimately is how we work. And I think it's reasonable for you to expect it from any vendor you hire as well. 1. They should follow you, not their own habits. Some clients are technical, so they want to access the board with engineering backlog, and some just want to have the product delivered. So expect to be asked or initiate the discussion about how you want to stay in the loop and on which channel, whether it's an issue tracker, email, Slack, meetings, whatever works best for you. 2. Frequent demos. And I don't mean status reports, but live screenshot demos. That's what keeps the feedback loop alive. And even though we pay a lot of attention to what was agreed in the spec, we keep some buffer for necessary changes because, things always change and it's just the nature of a startup product. 3. You should look for a partner who optimizes for the business, not for billable hours. So you started with a budget and a goal, not an infinite runway, and that's exactly why fixed price fits early stages. A good partner should also bring distractions to your attention, so if we notice that what's being worked on is drifting away from the goal, we say it out loud. 4. Support after the release. The release is not the end of the project. The handoff is some kind of a closure for the vendor, but for the business, that's when the party starts. So consider small maintenance packages. 8 hours a month is enough to begin with, just to keep the system operational, answer questions, pull some numbers. And new features will come up once real clients are using the product, so you can use that time to run a technical assessment and estimate new work. 5. Changes treated as normal, not as an insult. Pivots are an essential part of the game, and I truly believe they shouldn't be treated as an engineer's nightmare. So instead of being offended that something already built now has to change, a good vendor adjusts to what the business needs. But let's also be honest about what that means. A material change in the middle of development, especially in the fixed price model, is either extending the budget or pushing something else out of the scope in this phase. It's one of the two. 6. Choose the right tool for the job. In the early stage, don't overinvest in infinite scalability and expensive infrastructure, but when you are bootstrapping a product in healthcare or another regulated industry, also don't cut corners on security. This is why we like to present clients multiple approaches that they can choose from. We show them different paths, along with pros and cons, how those affect the goal, the timeline, and the budget. Because being aware of the alternatives is a powerful leverage for the business. So, the main thing to take away. You don't need to know how the sausage is made, but you do need to know the frame you are operating in and choose a vendor who understands your situation. So in order to succeed with your project build, you need to name what you're building, who it's for, then keep it small enough that you can still explain it, and then put someone next to you who will tell you when you're drifting. If this was useful, it's the kind of thing we publish regularly. So subscribe and visit Brival.co and sign up to our newsletter. That's where we go deeper and share the numbers behind our work.